Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I join you in welcoming our panelists and look forward to their testimony. You're right. In 2018, Congress last reauthorized the Brownfield program, and you and we led that bipartisan effort, and I thank you for helping out. But what we did on that back then, we expanded the eligibility to include nonprofits. We created a new grant program so communities can have the flexibility to clean up multiple brownfields. We made it easier for small and rural communities to have flexibility to participate in the program. And lastly, we doubled the amount from $250,000 to $500,000 per grant. So I look forward to today's discussion ahead of this reauthorization. But like you said, Mr. Chairman, you have to put things into perspective to understand what are brownfield sites. Because if you go back in time, let's just say a century ago, manufacturers all across America were building plants. We were building sites all across the country. They were locating their plants near river, rail, and roads. They wanted the most accessible locations 100 years ago. There weren't zoning laws back then, all that had in effect, so that they could put them any place. But then over time, as the economies changed, these companies often abandoned these plants and leaving a stigma in their communities. They left hulking, abandoned steel structures, crumbling brick structures, and some of them right in the downtown area. Many of them are potentially contaminated sites, and new businesses, as you pointed out, don't want to take on that liability. So they choose to go to some other area and leave behind this eyesore that remains. So this Brownfield program is a proven track record of revitalizing these communities. And today, we're joined. One of the panelists joining us is Pat Ford, who clearly has established himself as one of the best in the business when it comes to brownfield remediation. And in West Virginia, his work is notable. His projects have created jobs, expanded tax revenue streams, revitalized communities around him. I could go on and on about Pat Ford, but let's just consider one of these sites, Mr. Chairman, that we would be talking about is Weirton Steel site. Weirton Steel. It used to be the 6th largest steel manufacturer in America. 6th largest, 1,300 acres, and they located right in the heart, the middle of the city of Weirton, West Virginia. And just imagine now that they've through sales and abandonment, sales and bankruptcies, the plant's been abandoned. Right in the heart of town, 1,300 acres of unusable property. That's why this land and what he's taken on is this vacant, rusting hulk has been an eyesore for Weirton. But thanks to Pat Ford and Frontier and others, they're taking on this. Using the Brownfield money to revitalize this, and the city of Weirton is particularly appreciative of that. But St. Louis, they've got to team up to redevelop these old sites. They've leveraged over $90,000 from the EPA to bring in $123 million in public and private partnerships investments, and these investments that Pat and his group are doing are going to create over 2,500 jobs. So that's just one example. He's also done the Beach Bottom Industrial Park, the Brook Glass site in Wellsburg, the Port of West Virginia in Follansbee, Port of West Virginia in Follansbee. Projects like this, the accumulation of this brownfield legislation are bringing into the Northern Panhandle of West Virginia over 5,300 jobs, 474 million jobs in total investment. And they've lowered the unemployment rate in the Northern Panhandle from 14% down to 3.4%. Think about that. All from one program, the success of one program. So, Mr. Chairman, the Brownfield program is clearly one of the few economic development tools that truly benefit small and rural communities. So as this committee begins writing this program for next year's reauthorization, let's build on its success. If this committee's responsibility is to ensure the Brownfield program remains a public-private partnership, that's our goal. And we don't want to turn it into another federal bailout. So again, Mr. Chairman, please join me in welcoming Pat Ford to this committee once again. And I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and yield back.